Woo!
Oh, wow. Well, you wouldn't know it. Welcome to the Fatal Vision podcast. We just did a lightning round of recording a out of order introduction for the whole podcast. But I guess you must have heard that like 3 months ago in your life. So
So if you
just so
made
you
it
know,
here, thank you.
intersection right here. Yeah, thanks for sticking it out with us. We have no idea. This is probably episode 11 or 12. Um,
Yeah.
and we're just
I don't know. I don't
crushing.
know. I don't know what's going on.
We're crushing it, man.
No,
Yeah,
we are. We are.
yeah. I was listening to some like hardcore like NFL rap, like censored rap to like get excited,
Yeah.
get pumped.
I
So
do that too.
yeah, my adrenaline was just racing. I'm in a really agitated state.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just smoked two cigars and hit a couple of espressos myself.
Yeah,
So
myself, yeah, I had a decaf espresso earlier,
yeah,
about
yeah.
an hour ago. So the consumption is just off the charts.
Well, I washed it down with like a quick ketamine treatment and an ice bath.
Yeah, let's just take it. Let's take it. Let's just keep taking it deeper. I was up at 4 a.m. today with an ice
Hmm.
bath. 12-mile shuttle run, ice bath, and then I've just been taking my constantly monitoring my glucose levels just as a way to stay productive at work.
Yeah, I was on LinkedIn earlier and a video came up of some it was some guy named Scott Galloway. I guess he's a professor and he talks about men a lot.
Oh yes.
And he was saying something that I thought was really helpful. He said, "I'll show you some someone that watches 3 hours of spectator sports every weekend, and I'll show you a loser."
Wow.
But if I show you somebody who does Soul Cycle or CrossFit 3 or 4 times a week and plays sports, I'll show you somebody who is going to win in life. And I heard that I dropped and did 20 push-ups on the spot. I was like,
Yeah, I didn't know videos came on you LinkedIn. You must have a really fast connection.
it might have been one of the other ones. Sorry.
One of the other socials.
Yeah, I got a lot of
So many
socials
new.
on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you run a top rated podcast in a niche genre, you have to have all the socials so your fans can get to you whatever way they prefer.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, you're
as
right.
far as the masculine ideal, I think McDonald, we're like diving right into it. McDonald. I mean, this guy. We should send him a link to the podcast. 'Cause I think McDonald literally says in one of his chapters that he hates watching sports on TV. He just likes playing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty dope for him.
McDonald, he works out with the boxing team. He plays sports. If he's reading a paperback, it's late at night and he just bangs through it.
Bangs through at 2 a.m. Yeah,
100
does the
pages, no
dishes.
problem. Yep.
So I think with this guy,
Scott Galloway.
this fellow you're referring to, is he one of those like Ben Shapiro followers? Well,
He's a Democrat, actually.
oh, okay. Well, it's good for him.
Yeah, but he
I'll take
thinks that
his vote any day.
there's a crisis in American manhood or something. Young man.
It's all around like guys who like play fantasy football. It's mostly around
Yeah,
that.
yeah, fantasy football people, Dungeons and Dragons.
He brings that up too.
No, I'm just working that in,
No, he's
stirring
trying
the
to
pot,
get at me. Yeah.
stirring the pot. No, I love that
Well,
you.
yeah, well, that's a whole different thing than, yeah, I mean, he's like, that's sedentary, you're just watching football. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
I should be playing football every
Yeah, like
weekend.
you just go down to the Holyoke Park, whatever it's called, Grant Park, and just get into a pickup game. Full contact. No
Crazy.
pads. No helmets.
If I show you young men playing full contact pickup football in the park, I'll show you some men who are going to succeed in life.
Yeah, life,
I will tell
absolutely.
you that much.
By success is how I measure it.
Yep. So I've been thinking a lot
Um,
about that and just how I'm going to work out more.
I hope our podcast isn't considered too male.
I've been thinking about finding ways to center the female perspective on here, but
Well,
haven't come up with any yet.
um,
But
yeah, we
so
will eventually
male.
do.
It's so
Yeah, so
male.
male, so male. The whole
Wasn't
thing
that
just
in
reeks
a
of,
wasn't that in a Guardian review of a Bob Dylan album, Rough and Rowdy Way?
yeah, this possibly last album. The new Bob Dylan album is very male, like extremely male. Like,
Like, okay.
I just got an email from Kamala Harris that says, this election is going to be close, like very close.
Wow.
That's one of the best rhetorical flourishes out there. The like, comma. Jeffrey McDonald is guilty, like extremely guilty.
What do you like better, a like comma or a sentence that begins with a so comma?
Do you mean what do I like better in terms of what's more annoying?
Yeah.
I think the latter is even worse.
You hate so comma.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a disease.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
but
the
I don't know.
tweet.
I don't know. That's yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've been off of the twit box for I don't know. I'm not counting, not bragging, but a couple days.
Yeah.
God willing, stay off.
Yeah.
I got Billy. I can text Billy. What do I need to go on Twitter for?
Right. I'm here. I'm
Uh,
here. I'm available around the clock.
yeah. Same with the podcast. Same with the listeners. The relationship I've developed with them. It's been unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, on the subway platform today, I I saw somebody listening to the podcast on their phone, and I pointed at it and nodded at them knowingly, and I said, "That's me and my boy on there," and everybody applauded.
Oh, that's so funny that happened on a platform because I was, as you know, if a lot of everyone who follows me on LinkedIn knows that I was out in Fitchburg, Mass today, doing some foot blitzing for my, I won't say the name of the company because it would probably be a violation of the code of conduct to, you know, I'm not a representative of it, but I was working. Anyways, I was seen in public. I was at the City Hall of Fitchburg, trying to sneak into a telco closet to try to do something tricky, some mischievous thing. And this guy was like, wait a second. Are you James? You James McGinnis from the podcast? And it's the first time it's happened since this all began.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I got applauded by a crowd, and you got a
A
guy.
random guy, a random
Cool.
guy. But yeah, he's like, yeah, I think he's like, I listened to it, and my wife plays it every night as we fall asleep. And
Hmm.
I didn't know what you looked like because your picture isn't on the cover, but I looked you up online, and now we're here. It turned out he actually followed me there, so it's kind of a story gets weirder, but I'll leave it there.
Did he follow you when you left?
No, he followed me. Like the reason he ran into me in Fitchburg is he followed me from home. He'd been sort of just
Yeah, but then when
checking
you
me out.
drove back from Fitchburg, did he follow you
I don't
back
know.
to your home?
I, I don't know where he is right now. It's dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we can look into
Yeah.
that tomorrow.
Okay. I'll just check in on that later. I do invite everyone to join our live all night broadcast, which starts immediately after this recording. So we'll sort of have a little bonus content there. And we're going to be putting in a lot of premium features where it's required to donate in order to access the feed. So you're all invited.
If
Thank
you
you.
Yeah, if you donate, and then only some of you that donate can actually
In
get
the
in because
spirit of giving, yes, not in the expectation of getting in. The spirit of generosity, your precious gifts will be received with utmost gratitude.
all right, we're on chapter 6, page 89.
Chapter 6, part 1, and you're in a 2012 edition. Oh, by the time we're on part 2, we'll have the 2025 edition in our hands. Be pretty dope for us. It'll be like larger print. Anyway,
Yeah.
Billy, will you get us into the text, please? Thank you.
Yeah. The bodies of Colette McDonald and her two daughters were buried in a Long Island cemetery on Monday, February 23rd. Immediately afterward, Freddie and Mildred Kassab retreated to the seclusion of their home. They pulled down the blinds to shut out the light and had their phone number changed to prevent any incoming calls. In their grief, they wanted total isolation. Jeffrey McDonald's mother did not have the time to plunge deeply into mourning. She left the gravesite and drove immediately to New Hope, Pennsylvania, to meet with a psychiatrist concerning difficulties being experienced by her older son, Jay. The previous November, in apparent reaction to a drug overdose, Jay, who was a year and a half older than Jeffrey and who, like Jeffrey, had been named most popular male during his senior year of high school, had suffered a schizophrenic break with reality. This had resulted in his arrest and confinement to a state mental hospital after he had assaulted his mother on a street corner. I forgot all about that.
This stuff is, I mean, this is when you get into like what happened with Jay, like the same week. It makes my skin uh, goose flesh. A police report prepared at the time said that Jay struck his mother several times about the body and that it had been necessary for officers to physically subdue him. The incident had occurred on November 7th at the corner of Windsor Avenue and Montauk Highway in the town of Brightwaters, New York. Jay had been brought to a local precinct house and examined by police psychiatrists who recommended transfer to Central Islip State Hospital. Jeff had been called home on emergency leave from Puerto Rico, where he had been on a training exercise with his Green Beret unit. Jay had been released from the hospital within a week and had returned to his part-time job as a bartender at a Greenwich Village tavern called the Shortstop. On the morning of February 17th, having been informed by Freddie Kassab that she was to accompany them on the urgent and ominous trip to Fort Bragg, Dorothy McDonald had tried unsuccessfully to reach Jay by telephone. The next day, while at Fort Bragg, she learned that Jay, having heard the news of the murders on the radio, had suffered a relapse and had once again required hospitalization.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's pretty wild. What's going on in that family?
Yeah.
Uh, and we're going to get more obviously, but just talk about the non-ideal man, right? That someone who's got mental problems, right?
Hmm.
Not Jeffrey. Jay's, the epitome of what not to be as an American male.
Hmm.
And it is interesting when you think about when we're gonna have like 10,000 chances to talk about McDonald Jeffrey's possible pathology. We're gonna get to hear some about someone who shares his gene pool's pathology right now. So let's see. For some reason, I always find Jay is one of the most entertaining characters in the book when he gets to talk. I don't think he does in this chapter though.
All right. Go ahead.
A close family friend named Bob Stern, who was in the computer business and who had access to a private plane, had obtained Jay's release from the hospital in order that the two of them might fly to Fort Bragg to attend the funeral on February 21st. Afterwards, Stern had flown back to New York with Jay and had helped him transfer his belongings from the Greenwich Village apartment he was sharing with a merchant seaman to the Stern home in New Hope, Pennsylvania, about 30 miles north of Philadelphia. Arrangements had been made for Jay to recuperate at the Stern residence while undergoing psychotherapy as an outpatient. Pass.
Dorothy McDonald was a sturdy, energetic woman of 50 who was employed as a school nurse. Since her husband's unexpected death of lung disease at the age of 48, 4 years earlier, she had noted a steady deterioration in her older son's emotional well-being. Since his November breakdown, she had devoted an enormous amount of time and energy to efforts to aid his recovery. Now she was faced with him in a state of relapse and with her younger son Jeffrey recovering from injuries sustained during the assault, which had resulted in the murder of his wife and children. I feel very bad for Dorothy.
Yeah, I think she's one of the worst victims of McDonald because she had he forced her to believe that he was innocent too.
Yeah.
Um,
After visiting Jay and the Stern family and meeting with a psychiatrist in nearby Doylestown, Jeffrey McDonald's mother drove back to Fort Bragg on Tuesday, February 28th, to return to his hospital bedside. Jeffrey McDonald remained in Womack Hospital for 9 days. He looked pale and said he felt exhausted. He complained of frequent severe headaches and of an inability to sleep. An armed guard was stationed outside his door to protect him from any attempts at further violence by the four intruders who he said had massacred his family. The chest tube used to re-expand his lung did not function properly, and it became necessary to insert a second tube. He was seen twice by a Green Beret psychiatrist, a major with a shaved head and a handlebar mustache. Normal grief process continues, the major noted at the conclusion of his second visit.
it's a nice flourish from Joe there. Unnamed major just pops in to the book, pops out. On Thursday, February 26th, his lung having healed without further complication, McDonald was discharged from Womack Hospital and was assigned to a room in Bachelor Officers' Quarters. We're going to hear the term BOQ about 1,000 times going forward. The armed guard that had been stationed outside his hospital room was withdrawn. Upon hearing of this development, McDonald's mother confronted his commanding officer. She demanded to know why the guard had been removed, particularly since in an unsupervised BOQ room, her son would be in more danger of an attack by murderous intruders than he had been while hospitalized. She was told that law enforcement officials at Fort Bragg did not feel that her son was in danger. That makes it sound, Dorothy McDonald said, like you suspect Jeff may be involved. The commanding officer assured her, without attempting to explain the contradiction, that her son was not considered a suspect. He said, in fact, that having just gone through such an ordeal, Captain McDonald was now free to take some time off, and added that Mrs. McDonald could retain her visitor's suite in order to remain close to her son as long as she wished. That evening, Jeffrey McDonald said he found his new room unbearably depressing.
Oh,
He said he could not yet cope with solitude. He spent the night on his mother's couch.
okay. McDonald, however, was indeed a suspect at the time. Even before his release from the hospital, military authorities, while continuing to refuse public comment, newspapers reported that a shroud of secrecy had enveloped the investigation, had concluded that the young captain was the primary suspect in the murders. In a report never publicly released, the Fort Bragg Provost Marshal expressed the opinion that the accuracy, similarity, and location of the wounds strongly indicates actions of one individual with expertise on vulnerability, killing as rapidly and mercifully as possible without creating any noise. He added the observation that all the knife wounds were deep and in a relatively small area of the bodies, and that there had been no disfiguring and no sexual molestation, indices which to him pointed away from drug-crazed hippies and toward the one man husband, father, and physician with an interest in surgery, known to have been in the apartment at the time that the murders occurred. The provost marshal's opinion was shared by Franz Joseph Grebner and the two CID investigators, William Ivory and Robert Shaw, who were working most exhaustively at the crime scene. The three of them, within days, had come to believe it highly likely that Jeffrey McDonald had, for reasons unknown, killed his wife and children and had then, in an attempt to escape detection, staged a scene designed to make the murders look like the work of drug-crazed intruders, even going so far as to puncture his own lung in the process. As early as Monday, February 23rd, the provost marshal had informed the FBI that they could cease their nationwide search for the four killer hippies. When did the murder happen?
17th.
Yeah, 6 days later, they're like,
Yeah. Just
don't
no, just knock it off. It's
don't bother with it.
no,
And
don't. There's really no point.
he said a preliminary consideration of the physical evidence did not indicate that any civilians had been involved in the commission of the crimes. Nonetheless, pending laboratory analysis, the evidence against McDonald was non-existent. This is like evidence in quotation marks, I'll note.
Yeah.
Thus, at the beginning of March, when Dorothy McDonald asked if she could take her son to the seashore for a few days of rest and recuperation, no one at Fort Bragg felt there was any basis for not granting her request. So Joe's doing a good job here of weaving together the Dorothy
Yeah.
perspective, Dorothy's experience with the ongoing investigation.
Yes, and he must have certainly been known to have interviewed her several times, so got her perspective um of this time period and what she was going through with having to go from Pennsylvania back to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, he's able to sort of drop these little things in. That was less than 2 pages, bringing us up to speed on what the investigation was. Now we're back into the family drama.
Hmm.
So during the first week of March, Jeffrey McDonald and his mother drove to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for what she hoped would be a restorative time near the salt water to which he had always been attracted as a child. Later, McDonald would recall that trip. So I'm wondering if this is a coming from a tape, possibly.
Hmm.
We drove down in my white Chevy, the white 65 Chevy convertible with the black top. It was a really nice car. It wasn't souped up or anything. It was a handsome convertible for the time. I'm sure I did the driving because that would be my normal personality. And I could see us driving along this two-lane highway. It seemed to run indefinitely. It was almost an extraordinarily long 4-hour drive. We talked aimlessly about things, not seriously ever about Colette, Kim, Chrissy, or that night. We talked about other things, about Jay. I believe I knew at this time that Jay was having problems. I don't think I was aware of the depth of his problems. I knew there was something going on up north. Seems crazy that he wouldn't know the depth since he went for an emergency trip back in November to meet
Yeah,
with Jay.
what
But
do we think of Joe's decision to quote McDonald for two
yeah,
paragraphs? He could have just later McDonald recalled that they drove in a white Chevy and he wasn't aware of Jay's problems at the time, or
yeah, I don't get it. It's an interesting choice.
well,
It's
just to
really,
make him sound like a puke.
doesn't he seem like a puke? Yeah, he's like, because we just heard about his mom was, like it basically like disrupted her entire life. Um, and was just compelled run ragged between her two sons and these competing crises.
Yeah, we didn't talk at all about the her
No,
grandchildren. Didn't
no,
talk
I
about them at
mean,
all.
it
Yeah.
didn't. So, I mean, we talked about other random stuff like Jay, this brother I have. He was having some problems. I don't remember. I don't think I knew about them at the time.
So, okay, so we have an example here of a thing that Joe has done before, which is just quoting verbatim
From the tapes.
from tapes, and
Must
then
be
he
or
also
McDonald
also
himself.
in the first chapter he produces the Friends of Jeff letter
Oh
verbatim.
yes, yes.
He's good at just dropping in like, here, look at this, presented
Yeah.
without
And so
comment.
interesting. Yeah, because it's not siloed away like it is, like we'll see in the next chapter, where it's just all Jeff. We're getting sort of Jeff, and then I see later that Dorothy's gonna have some verbatims as well. So it's
Mhm.
gonna be interesting blend.
Yeah.
In early March, however, the air was chilly, the sky dark, and many of the better motels and restaurants not yet open. McDonald again. We stayed at a motel which I would rate as out of 4 stars,
Oh,
possibly a half star instead of one. The rooms were drafty and it was a cold weekend on the beach. Sorry, now I'm adding my own editorial voice. It was gray, overcast, windy, like 45 to 50 degrees, which was perfect for my mood. It was just how I felt. It was as though Jesus Christ, you Billy, you can say that one, right? Cumulonimbus.
cumulonimbus.
Wow, he's really crushing us with this word.
I hear like
Cumulonimbus.
yeah,
That
cumulonimbus.
cumulonimbus that were scudding across the skies clouds were a reflection of me rather than a clear sky that would draw me out of this depression we were in.
Yep.
We found the food to be sort of unpleasant. I don't remember anything that we ate, which is like one of his favorite things to talk about later, is what they ate, like with the honeymoon and Colette, lobster dinner and all that jazz.
Yep.
But I remember that we were displeased with A, the accommodations, and B, the food. We had a couple of crummy meals. The town was almost shut down because it was off season. We did walk on the beach, though. I remember my mother was frustrated and anxious because things were not turning out like she hoped. She had hoped it would be warm and sunny. I think she sensed that I've always known about myself, and what years later proved to be correct, that I do recover with the sun. I need the sun. Basking in the sun rejuvenates me physically and emotionally. A long, sunny weekend is the best possible cure for me, but that was not to be. My mother was trying to give me space, and yet she
Mm.
wanted the weekend at least to have something nice to try to lighten the load. So therefore, she was frustrated and anxious, and I was the one who had to turn and say, "Relax, that's okay. We'll walk on the beach anyway." So we did. But actually, walking on the beach was not a good thing for me at that time. It was a melancholy thing. I'm not a beach walker. I'm a much more active person than that. So I was walking along the surf, remembering both my father and my family and trying to forget the recent tragedy. And I, like 2 weeks ago, and I had to keep turning from my mother so as to not let her see me cry, which is my way, right or wrong.
Yeah, I'm a tough guy, right or wrong, man.
Yeah, it just comes down to it. In the end, I couldn't be vulnerable with her. It's what I do. You can like it or you can't. I could give a shit really. I'm an active man. I don't care for walking, and I just love the sun. I just want to do nothing but just bask in the sun.
All right, well, now
Good
we're gonna
nar
get
good narcissist in there. Anyway, go ahead. Yep.
now, as McDonald's mother recalled it. Now we're quoting Dorothy.
Ooh.
The time that was spent at the shore was very quiet. We would have a quiet breakfast, go to bed early, rest, and so forth. He complained of a headache, and I'd give him an aspirin, just to reduce it. We picked up shells, and he just walked. He walked for hours along the beach. I did not question him. I never probed. I could not ask questions. I felt that other people had. I was the mother of a young man whose wife and children had been murdered, and my concern was to give solace and to try and help him bear this agonizing burden. When he wept, I was trying to tell him that it was really rough, and I understood, and that we would just have to go on from that point. And sometimes he would weep and he would say, I love them so much, Mom. You know I love them so much.
Whoa. So there's the friction there between their, well, first of all, there's the chill, sort of the chilling idea of McDonald sort of, I mean, emotional with the regret of having done what he did. And now he's just out on some desolate beach with his mom. Can't really tell her what happened.
Hmm.
Um, and he knows he'll never be able to tell her. And then you also have his hilarious revised version of like, yeah, I
Yeah.
just turned my face into the rain. They hid my tears perfectly. It's my way.
Yeah. And
And
then his mom is like, yeah, he wept.
like all the nonstop.
Yeah.
So this is one of the first of, not one of the first. We've caught McDonald in several embellishments, or he might even be called a fabulist. As a, is there something going on over there, man? You okay?
Well, yeah, I heard some like cracking up on my ceiling there, and I see a little crack. And sometimes, or last year, I had leaks from the upstairs neighbor, so the radiator. So I was getting concerned that that might be happening again
Oh,
because
okay.
I could hear the cracking. So I'm just gonna
All
have to.
right. All right.
I'm gonna
Well,
have to
we're coming to the end of the chapter.
yeah,
Where
I'll call the landlord tomorrow.
Billy's gonna need to do something about that crack in his ceiling.
Not tonight, man. Not
Not
tonight.
tonight. Not tonight. All right, the conclusion. Back at Fort Bragg on March 6th, Jeffrey McDonald wrote a letter to the Kassabs. Dear Fred and Mildred, apparently it was not just a bad dream. The magnitude of our loss is something I'm still trying to comprehend. I know this won't help you in your grief, but I want you to know that I loved Colette more than anything in the world. I know she was happy as long as we were together, and I will never be the same person without her. Although my family is gone, it helps me just a little to remember that Colette and Kim and Christy and I had as much happiness in our short years together as most families have in a lifetime. Colette truly loved you both and would want you to remember the happier times. Love, Jeff. What do we think of that?
Yeah,
Not
she
one of
was.
those things struck me as a weird. I don't think it really bothered me the first time I read it, but now the last sentence is really fucked up.
Well, I'm more bothered by the she was happy as long as she was with me.
Yeah. By the way, yeah.
What about with
Yeah.
them?
Oh yeah. At least she had some couple years with me. And anyways, you guys just got to remember the good times. Her murderers are at large, and but we got to just remember the good times. Just
Focus
gotta.
on the good times. Isn't that what you said?
I did. Well, it's true, I guess.
Onion
Um,
rings.
yeah.
Best in the whole
Wow. As
state, as far as I'm concerned.
far as I'm concerned, I went ahead and ordered some for the table.
It's very good.
Yeah.
You might not realize it, but you are making contacts.
Yeah. It's an entry level job. Buck up. Um, and also that their family was so awesome that they just crushed it in a few short years, and, like left everyone else in the fucking dust.
Yeah, we were the best family. I just want to let our listeners know that you might have just heard James and me saying sentences that seem to not be about anything.
Oh shit. Yeah.
We were quoting from the finale of the Sopranos.
It's just a show that we watched.
Yeah.
We like.
Yeah.
it's just funny, just I don't know, just dumb, I guess. Well, we've made it through chapter 6.
All right.
Let's give it a preview of what's coming next. We're gonna hit the 100-page mark sometime in the next chapter. It's more voice of Jeff. Looks like it's gonna be early um Princeton years.
Yeah.
Should be dope.
Should be
And
dope.
Billy, got any travel plans lined up? I'm hoping not. Not with these hurricanes.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna be in Connecticut this weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, try to be mindful of the weather conditions and don't do anything dangerous.
Yeah, I just like to hit the open road, man.
And stay in the sun, bask in the sun. It's
Yep.
healing for you. It's the one thing I've learned about myself. Didn't know it then. Anyway,
Wait a second. Let me just check. Let's check one thing, like quick point of order before we go. It's 11:53 p.m. now, Eastern time.
yes.
Where's McDonald now?
Right now, 11:53 in the East, October 10th. He's in prison in Maryland. He's either asleep or awake, but he's that's one of two things he can be. So he's probably all done eating for the day. I don't think, unless he has snacks in his cell. And
Probably not doing much basking.
no, I don't think they let him do a lot of that sun stuff there.
Man, but he needs it, man.
Oh man, it's brutal. Um, that sucks, dude.
He definitely doesn't let the fellow inmates see him cry. I'll tell you that.
No, he turns his face into the hurricane winds, and lets the tears get washed away.
Wow.
So Jeff,
Tracks
if
of
you're
my
out there,
tears, man.
if you're out there tonight, we still remember what you did.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. God
Thank you.
bless.
God bless.